Hey everyone, and welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really big one for anyone in IT, the CompTIA Network Plus.
Think about it. Our entire world, literally everything from streaming a movie to global finance, it all runs on networks. So the big question is, who actually keeps all of that working? Who's got the know-how when things break? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
All right, here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with what the Network Plus actually is. Then, we'll decode the exam so it's not so mysterious. We'll walk through the 5 big pillars of knowledge you need and wrap up with what your next step could be. Sound good? Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, what is the Network Plus? You can basically think of it as the stamp of approval, the thing that proves you have the skills to not just talk about networks, but to actually design them, manage them, and, fix them when they break. And I really want to stress this. This isn't some textbook exam. Nope. Network Plus is all about proving you can do the job. Actually roll up your sleeves and deploy wired and wireless gear, set up critical services, get your head around cloud and virtual networking, and maybe most importantly, lock it all down and troubleshoot the heck out of it when things go sideways.
Right. So to get the cert, you gotta pass the exam. I know, exams can sound scary, but it's not some big secret mystery box. We're going to decode the blueprint right now so you know exactly what you're walking into.
Okay, check this out. The exam isn't just one big blob of networking. It's split into 5 different areas. And look at the biggest slice of that pie, troubleshooting, at a whopping 24%. That tells you everything you need to know, right? This cert is all about practical, real-world problem solving, not just memorizing facts.
So here's the quick and dirty on the exam itself. You've got 90 minutes for up to 90 questions. And, this is key, it's not just multiple choice. You're also going to see performance-based questions, which are basically mini simulations where you have to actually do something to solve a problem. As for prep, CompTIA suggests having about 9 to 12 months of actual networking experience under your belt. That makes a lot of sense, right?
All right, let's start digging into those domains. We'll begin with the first pillar, networking concepts. You've got to think of this as the absolute foundation. It's the language of networking. Everything else is built right on top of this.
And right at the core of those concepts is something called the OSI model. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, great, a model. It sounds super technical and intimidating, but trust me, it's not. It's basically a cheat sheet. A way to take this incredibly complex thing, how computers talk to each other, and break it down into 7 simple, understandable layers. Here's how to picture it. Let's say you're sending an email. Your data starts all the way up at the top, at layer 7, inside your email app. Then it travels down this stack, and at each layer, it gets another little instruction wrapper put on it. One layer says how to transport it, the next says where on the network it's going, and so on all the way down to layer 1. Where it becomes electrical signals zapping across a cable. If you get this flow, you basically have the blueprint for any network communication. It's so powerful.
Okay, let's be honest. Networking is just full of acronyms, right? It's a total alphabet soup, and it can be pretty overwhelming. But don't worry, the Network Plus isn't about memorizing all of them. It's about understanding the ones that really matter.
A perfect example is DNS, the Domain Name System. The analogy here is perfect. It's the phone book for the internet. Simple as that. We type in a friendly name we can remember, like CompTIA.org, and DNS does the work of looking up the real, nerdy IP address that the computers actually need. Can you imagine having to memorize those numbers for every single site? No way.
And then you've got the VPN, Virtual Private Network. What does it do? Well, it's pretty genius. It carves out your own private, secure, encrypted tunnel right through the wide-open public internet. It's the magic that keeps your stuff safe from anyone trying to snoop, whether at home or, on that sketchy coffee shop Wi-Fi.
Okay, so you've got the concepts, you're speaking the language. Now what? Well, now it's time to actually do something with that knowledge. And that brings us perfectly to the next 2 pillars, implementation and operations. This is all about the hands-on work of building the network and, just as important, keeping it humming along.
A huge part of implementation is routing, figuring out how data gets from point A to point B. And there are really 2 main ways to do it. You've got static routing, which is, it's static. You manually tell it the directions and it never changes. Then you've got dynamic routing, which is way cooler. It's like your car's GPS. It's smart, it figures out the best way to go, and if there's a problem, it just reroutes you automatically. Much more flexible.
Then there's the operations side. And let me tell you, a huge piece of this puzzle is documentation. I know, it sounds boring, but it's not just paperwork, I promise. A good network diagram isn't just a picture, it's your treasure map when things go wrong. And something like an SLA, that's your promise to your users to finding exactly what level of service they can expect. This stuff is the blueprint for a network that doesn't fall apart.
All right, let's get to our last two pillars, and honestly, you could argue these are the most critical of all: security and troubleshooting. This is where you become both the guard at the gate and the detective on the case. It's all about protecting the network and then figuring out what happened when it breaks.
Let's clear something up that trips a ton of people up. The difference between authentication and authorization. It's actually super simple when you break it down. Authentication is just proving who you are. Think of it as showing your ID at the door. Authorization is what happens next. Once they know who you are, what are you actually allowed to do? Can you go in the VIP room? That's authorization. And you need both. One without the other is useless.
And that leads us right into troubleshooting. Remember, this is the biggest chunk of the entire exam. And I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. You're not just a fix-it person, you're a network detective. You're looking for clues, following leads, testing theories. You're solving the mystery of why isn't this thing working.
And just like a real detective, you don't just start guessing wildly. No, there's a method to the madness. It's a process. First, what exactly is the problem? Then, what's your best guess, your theory about what's causing it? Okay, now test that theory. Don't just assume you're right. If you are, then you make a plan and you implement your fix. And you're not done yet. You have to verify it actually worked, and then, don't forget this last step, document what you did. This structured approach is what makes you a pro.
So there you have it. That's the whole journey, right? You start with the fundamental concepts, the language of networks, and you build all the way up to becoming a full-fledged network detective. Getting the Network Plus proves you've got the whole package, the skills to really manage the technology that holds our world together.
Look, the stuff you learn for the Network Plus, it's not just for network engineers. It's the foundation for almost every single job in IT. So this is way more than just about passing some test. It's about getting the real practical skills to build and protect the digital world we all live in. So, the only real question left is, are you ready to be one of the people who builds it?